Thank you everyone for attending today. Good afternoon. We're going to be talking about effective digital marketing tactics for jewelry stores to boost sales. Probably get into some really specific things, and really want to focus on the strategies that we see really working. It has to be holistic, but we're going to talk about probably the really highest priority items. So we'll go through that. We'll talk about the jewelry landscape, and the most important digital marketing setup in 2025. We'll talk about SEO, Google Ads, social media, email. We'll talk about marketing automation, and then we'll kind of sum it up from there. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, be happy to just take them as we go. And you can just, go into the Q&A and ask any questions. Happy to just make it more interactive for you, and be able to just answer questions on the fly if needed. So we'll go ahead and some of you might know me if you are on these webinars. I do these webinars every month. Sometimes I'll bring in guests. Last month we had Rodney and Daniel from our team going over how jewelers can use AI to enhance their business. We do these webinars every month. It's the second Thursday of every month in our partnership for our partnership with the Edge point of sale system. But everyone's welcome to attend. We've been in business for over 25 years, coming up on my 18th year this September at GemFind, and we help jewelers with all things digital marketing, web design. We're a Shopify partner. We have a lot of different apps and services like a ring builder, diamond search, things that are available in the Shopify app store, the WordPress plugins, the Magento extensions. Our goal is to kind of be your one-stop shop for all things digital, and love helping jewelers, really build their business and scale and expand their business through digital marketing and web design. A couple of us at the JCK show last year. So jewelry marketing landscape in 2025, establishing a robust online presence is crucial, as obviously we know consumers engage in online research before making in-store purchases. For instance, studies indicate that 81% of consumers research online prior to making decisions. Additionally, nearly 70% of consumers rely on online reviews before finalizing a purchase. We'll talk a little bit about reviews as well. I know that most of you are using something like Podium or something like that, but yeah, this trend underscores the importance of retailers to maintain informative and user-friendly websites, as well as to actively manage their online reputation to effectively influence purchasing behavior. The global online jewelry market is projected to grow from 45 billion in 2023 to 136 billion by 2032. So indicating a significant shift towards online shopping. And when you have a local jewelry store, you have a couple things baked in, like you have some social proof, but really it's probably important to make sure that you can have the type of experience that some of these bigger online players do to make sure that you can compete. And also setting up your digital marketing strategy to allow for consumers to have the choice to either purchase or visit the store. One of our PPC specialists always talks about how they're this one and the same. The strategy is going to be the same, whether it's e-commerce or if it's local. You need to have all those things, all the right things set up for both. So we'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit. So overview of the most effective digital marketing. I usually start and recommend looking at keyword and market research. So keyword research guides website positioning and merchandising. So if you start with, even before you say you don't have a website or you're redeveloping a website, what's important is to find and not focus on products that don't have any search volume or that nobody is interested in, or it's not trending. The way that you can do that is do keyword research using tools like SEMrush or SpyFu or Ahrefs or one of those tools. And you can also use Google Trends to find out which keywords are trending upwards versus, really merchandising and optimizing your site for product types that just aren't really that popular right now, or that don't have much search volume, so you're not going to get much website traffic. So I always think that, keyword research is extremely important because it will inform the way that you build your website, also your SEO strategy and your PPC strategy, which are essential. Also the website user experience. So authentic products that represent the store experience. There's times where we help a jeweler with their digital marketing. Their products are, using the Stoller Showcase, or they're using some, feed that has tens of thousands of products. They don't have that same experience in store. So there's a disconnect from their local shoppers that are visiting the website. So they don't get as many conversions. So it's important to, when setting up your website, is to have a good representation of your product and your website that represents your actual in-store experience. And one of the great ways to do that, since we're doing this webinar for Edge retailers, is integrating the Edge with your website. So that way you have a true reflection of your in-store inventory on your website. And I see a lot of times when our clients have a point of sale integration, is the campaigns typically perform a little bit better. Excuse me. So authentic products that represent the store experience, clear, unique selling proposition. Some of the biggest e-commerce brands out there, they have their brand identity extremely dialed in, and some of the local retailers overlook these things. But really, especially like millennials and Gen Z, they want to do business with someone that resonates with their values. And so if you don't really have any values or a unique selling proposition, then it's going to be hard for that age group to connect with your store. So it's important to be clear about who you are and what makes you unique, and what are your values essentially. Also social proof, extremely important with for your website user experience and trust. There's a lot of, especially like e-commerce, but also local as well. If you don't have social proof, you don't have good social media following and engagement, or a growing account, and you don't have reviews because you're an e-commerce company and you're newer, it's going to be tough to get conversions. You need to have some sort of social proof. So a couple of things you can do. You should have reviews, get them if you can't get them. Get featured in press. So you see that a lot on these e-commerce sites, but you can do that locally as well. Show the press that you're featured in. A lot of jewelry stores get featured in-store magazine and different publications. You can do PR to be able to get featured in these types of publications, as well as JCK magazine, and even other more broad ones like Harper's Bazaar. One of our e-commerce clients gets featured in a lot. And then a growing and engaging social media. So we'll talk more about social media, but if you're not growing, it's like you don't seem relevant to today's consumer, because most consumers, if they're finding you through a search engine, they're going to go to your social media. And then if it's just like, dead or silent or just not engaging and doesn't look interesting, they might move on, because they want to find someone that is that seems relevant and that also resonates with them. So extremely important part of your overall conversions and digital marketing strategy. Recognizable brand identity, that usually actually increases your conversion rate. There's now science behind having a good brand identity by up to 30%. Site speed, mobile experience, all those things are going to be really important as well. And also, consumer friendly, and also online financing and installments. Those are really important. Without these things, and I'm not going to talk too much more about websites, because there's we're going to be talking more about digital marketing. But without those things with your website set up, a lot of the other digital marketing components will struggle a little bit more. So don't want to overlook the importance of the website user experience when getting your digital marketing strategy all put together. And like I said, engaging, active, and growing social media. So you want to do short form video content that represents the brand identity and unique selling proposition. Also user generated content. We're going to go into social media a little bit more. And then also marketing automation with PPC, and then also email automation. We're going to talk more about that. But these are the main things that make digital marketing effective today. So we'll talk about SEO. We can get really into the weeds here, and I'll give some specific examples and jump out of the slides and show some things here. But consumers are using search engines 20% more year over year. Google holds 90% of the worldwide search engine market share. We know this, but less than 1% of searchers click on the second page of Google results. So really important to be very prominent on Google. Organic web listings get 73% of clicks. That means overpaid. SEO drives 1000% more traffic than organic social media. And that doesn't say that social media is not important. It really is, because it's your PR channel. It's how people check to see if you're relevant. SEO leads have a 14% close rate. So pretty high closing rate if people find you through organic SEO. And if you're unfamiliar with the difference between organic SEO and paid, so paid really isn't considered SEO typically. SEO is typically organic. It means search engine optimization. PPC, on the other hand, which is paid search engine marketing, you pay per click every time somebody clicks on a keyword that you're bidding on. In this case, this requires a lot of legwork. It requires you building out your website according to the keywords that you want to rank for, and then doing some other things like off-page SEO, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But what we want to talk about first is keyword research. I mentioned this as one of the most important things for all of your digital marketing strategy, but for SEO, that's where it starts. So SEO should start with keyword research to determine what keywords a site should optimize for. Once the keywords are determined, then individual pages need to be created for each individual keyword, so the page is as relevant as possible for the person searching for that product or service. So really what you want to do is find the keywords that you want to optimize for, determine what the intent is for that keyword, and then build out a page. The page could be a landing page, a content page, could be a blog, could be a product collection, it could be a product, it could be anything. We have to look at the search intent to understand what type of page should be created. I'll show a couple examples of those. Keyword research should be strategic by using keywords that generate traffic quickly and keywords that may take longer but have an even bigger impact. So we'll go through that a little bit. So some of the factors when it comes to keyword research are search volume, keyword difficulty, search intent, and then something called SERP features, which means search engine result placement features. We'll break these down further below. So search volume, the goal is to find keywords with enough search volume to move the needle in the website traffic. But keep in mind that if the keywords are difficult to get ranked on, expectations should be set properly, where we need to know that the ones that are really difficult to get ranked on, if you don't really have a high domain authority, you haven't done extensive SEO, those are going to take a lot of time to build your ranking on. But if we can find low-hanging fruit, which are keywords with maybe a little bit lower search volume, but the keyword difficulty is very easy. Like there's not as much competition for those keywords. That's where you can find a lot of opportunity. And it all depends on your market size and where, if you want to do e-commerce or not. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So keyword difficulty, like I mentioned, it needs to be taken into consideration for both the long-term and short-term strategy. If we can find low-hanging fruit with keywords that have high volume and low keyword difficulty, we should jump on them immediately. If the keywords have a high difficulty, we need to know that it's going to take time to for the ranking to get built up, and the page authority and overall domain authority over time. It's going to take, a lot longer, but time all depends on the how competitive it is, and also how your website currently is structured and what your domain authority is. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Other factors are search intent. So search intent is typically going to be informational, navigational, commercial, or transactional. Information being top of the funnel, meaning that they're just looking for information, and then transaction being the bottom of the funnel. They're ready probably to make a purchase. They're just trying to find the right place or product to purchase, place to purchase from, or product to purchase. This helps to determine the type of page that should be created. So if the keyword has an informational intent, it most likely should be a blog or an FAQ or an education resource. If the keyword has commercial intent, it should either be a landing page with information about purchase considerations or a product collection. And then finally, transactional intent would typically be a product or an offer, or potentially a collection that is very specific to that search query. You have to kind of use logic to determine how to build out these pages based on the actual keyword itself as well. SERP features tells you what type of modules you should put on a page. So Google prefers structured data, otherwise known as Google Rich Snippets or schema. Examples are FAQ schema, reviews schema, product schema, etc. And this essentially tells Google what you're placing on that page so they can index it and use that information to determine how relevant that page is based on the keywords you're telling Google to rank you on. So again, a little technical there, but essentially, if you have the right website structure, like Shopify, for example, has a lot of this stuff built in. It has FAQ schema. So Google knows this is an FAQ. Website platforms like WordPress, for example, by default, everything is just one big page. So you have to use different plugins or coding to tell Google what this piece of content is or what this module is. So, using platforms like Shopify make it a lot quicker and easier to be able to make sure Google's reading the information correctly and that it's yielding that information in the search result pages. So on-page SEO should consider a few factors. The technical SEO application, really each piece of content or page or whatever you're going to be creating should have 1,000 to 3,000 words. Depending on what type of page it is. Hero image with H1 and supporting text. I'll show an example. I'll jump out of here in a minute. Rich text block with H2 and supporting text. Title tag optimization, URL optimization, meta description, internal link optimization, image optimization, schema, modules for SERP features like feature products, feature collections, FAQs, reviews, Google Map API. Again, a lot of different things here. Gets pretty technical and is very specific, but when you look at it on a page, it doesn't seem as confusing. So I'm going to pull up a page, for example. So this is a page we just optimized for this permanent bracelets. So Dallas here. So this is the H1 supporting text. Here's an H2 with supporting text. And then some of the modules that I had mentioned, which would be like featured products is a module. And then FAQs is another module. So Google is able to index all this information. And sometimes when you use FAQ schema, Google will put the actual FAQ on the page as an informational resource. So these things are really important for online visibility. Also the Google Map API, which helps your Google Map show up very prominently. But if you look at the on-page SEO, you can use a tool called Moz. It's a toolbar you can add on your Google Chrome. It'll tell you exactly how this page is set up. So you can see the URL, has the keyword in the URL, has it in the page title, has it in the meta description in the first sentence, has it in the H1, has it in multiple H2s. It's also in some of the images as well. So that's how you ultimately optimize a page. So again, these things, when you look at it on paper, it looks confusing, but this covers almost all of these things. But, again, it looks less confusing when you actually look at it on a page there. So, next slide, we'll talk about a couple other things. Creating content according to the search intent. So you want to, again, informational blogs or education pages, commercial, which would be landing pages or collection pages, depends on the keyword, and transactional, collection, or product. Actually, I'll show you one more example here. This is an example of a collection that you would optimize. So, just products on a page. But this is more specific because it's Halo engagement rings in Chicago. So you want to have basically products because it's so specific, this keyword. So it's either more commercial or transactional. Then we add keyword rich content on the bottom with internal links and everything like that. So if you look at it with using this toolbar, you'll be able to see the keywords in the title tag, meta description, H1, and multiple H2s as well, and image text as well, image alt text. So again, this is how you basically optimize your website for SEO. Is you choose the keywords, build out the pages, and again, you need to determine based on the search intent whether it's going to be a landing page, a collection, a product, a blog, or an educational page. And so that's why keyword research is so important. It helps you determine how you're going to really set up your website for success. If you're just doing it blindly and you're just setting up pages with no real strategy, it's like, are you going to know that it's going to actually convert? When you're building your website out according to what people are actually searching for, then you're going to probably have a better user experience because each page is going to be relevant to the user's experience when they're searching for that search query. So, so SEO plays a role in multiple factors. Again, it plays a role in your website user experience, but also your paid strategy as well, which we'll talk about here in a minute. We also want to talk about off-page optimization and domain authority. So off-page SEO has a big impact on domain authority, which we'll talk about here in a minute. The main factors are referring domains, backlinks, and citations. Referring domains mean like how many websites have a link to your website. So if you're getting if you're on the directory for the knot and there's a link to your website on it, that's a referring domain. And how many links on that page are considered a backlink? So say you get covered by press, you're on In-Store Magazine, and you're on America's Coolest Stores, and they have a write-up about you, and they have a link to your About Us page. They have a link to your contact page. They have a link to your homepage on your website. Those are 3 backlinks essentially with one referring domain. So it's important to have referring domains from high quality sources and then backlinks from those referring domains. And also citations. Citations are essentially directory listings. So these are all important factors on your domain authority. And to give you more information on domain authority, I wrote this out this morning, is how search engines measure how to place websites in the search results. So first, search engines will crawl the internet to find the websites that are telling them to rank for that keyword via the on-page SEO setup. And then it'll check to see who is the most authoritative resource for that topic or keyword. So essentially you build the pages out, you tell Google to index that page or again, collection or whatever it ends up being. And then Google, once you tell Google, this is what I'm optimizing for based on the title tag, H1, meta description, etc. Then they're going to be like, okay, so somebody's searching for this keyword. So is this website relevant to this search query because it's telling us that it wants to rank for this? And then what is the domain authority of this website? So they'll determine where to place you in the search results. And so if the keyword's really competitive, the websites that have the higher domain authorities are going to show up higher than you. But if it's not that competitive and your domain authority is not that strong, you might have a shot at actually getting ranked near the top. If your domain authority is really strong, then you could probably show up on most of the keywords that you're wanting to rank for. There's other factors. There's page authority for each of those pages as well that you have to build up, but we'll talk more about that at another time. But domain authority is typically determined by the number of referring domains. So websites that have a hyperlink to your website, like I'd mentioned, and backlinks, how many hyperlinks are included in those referring domains. And additionally, how authoritative the referring domains are that you're getting the links from. These are the top factors, but not the only factors that make up your domain authority. Other factors are how often you update your website with relevant content and how well your website is set up for SEO. Really, like Google's looking for websites that are putting out a lot of content. So if you're not putting out a lot of content, Google's not going to keep you as a relevant resource for the things that you're telling Google to rank you on. So you always got to be putting out content. There's so many other factors, there's keyword clustering. There's don't want to waste, waste your entire afternoon going through all these details, but definitely, a lot of factors with SEO, and we can, help you, analyze your current SEO structure and give you some tips if you'd like. Be happy to do that. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type them in the Q&A. Did want to just show you this one thing here. I just use Robbins Brothers, for example, to go over the authority scores. So again, this is the domain authority for each one of these resources. So Robbins Brothers has a 41, Blue Nile has a 60, James Allen has a 49, Vari has a 49, Brilliant Earth has a 60. So you'll see that they have a lot of backlinks and referring domains. So Blue Nile has 17,000 referring domains, 3.2 million backlinks. That means 3.2 million backlinks within these 17,000 referring domains. You can see that Robbins Brothers only has 2,800 referring domains and 20,000 backlinks, so they have the lowest authority score. Vari has a little bit more referring domains and more backlinks. Their authority score is a little bit higher because of that. And then finally, Brilliant Earth, they actually have less referring domains and less backlinks than Blue Nile, but what that probably means is the quality of the referring domains that they're getting are much higher. So they're spending more effort on being more selective on which websites are linking back to brilliantearth.com. So that's part of the strategy as well. So we'll talk a little bit about Google Ads, intent-based advertising. So why Google Ads? When somebody searches for engagement rings near me or custom wedding bands, they're showing purchase intent. So Google Ads places your businesses at the top of those searches, right when it matters most. And also not just on search, it shows up on the Google Map, it shows up on Google Display and all these other areas. And so that's one of the big factors with search engine marketing in general, is that the intent factor makes search engine marketing typically more effective than other marketing efforts because of that intent. They're typing in something that shows that they want to make a purchase. So that's if you can show up when somebody is ready to make a purchase, or at least showing some buying indicators, or even if they're in the middle of the funnel of their buyer's journey, like you want to get them into your funnel and then start nurturing them over the course of that buyer's journey. So the intent factor allows you to capture those people that are, looking for a product or service. So, one suggestion for Google Ads is use Performance Max campaigns. Google's really pushing for Performance Max. It's a type of campaign, and it's a goal-based campaign that uses automation to serve ads across all Google properties: search, display, YouTube, Gmail, Maps, and Discover. And what it does is it drives better results by reaching shoppers at all stages of the buying journey, and it will optimize for the conversions that you set based on which platforms or properties are your ads appearing on. So if a lot of people are converting by using the Google Map, then they're going to keep showing your ad on the Google Map. If a lot of your conversions are happening through search, your search campaigns will show up higher. So every market might be a little bit different, have a little variation to where the conversions are going to take place, but Google will know and optimize for that. They also can figure out, find shoppers that are actively shopping for merchandise that you might have. It's very specific. It's very targeted in the approach. So you can find what you call in-market audiences. That means people that are actively shopping on similar websites for similar types of products. So a tip is link your Google Merchant Center feed and upload high quality product images. Use headlines like handcrafted halo rings, free shipping. According to Google, advertisers using Performance Max achieve 18% more conversions at a similar CPA on average. So that's Performance Max are really the best way to go nowadays. Couple of things that you want to do when you run your Google ads is you want to enable location extensions and store visits tracking to measure in-store foot traffic driven by your ads. So if you're focused more on local traffic, Google now has a conversion called store visits. So they can, based on an algorithm that they have, they can tell when people are actually visiting your store based on a number of factors that of information that they aggregate. So store visits is probably the number one most conversion for most jewelry stores. Now Google has that conversion, and the best way to use it is through the Performance Max campaigns. So works best for multi-channel jewelers who want to tie digital campaigns to real world visits, combines data from Google Maps, mobile location tracking, and ad clicks. 70% of consumers who search for a local business on their phone visit a store within 24 hours. Also use site link or ad extensions. So site link extensions. So when your ad appears on the search results, people can dig deeper into your website by having the site link extensions. Call extensions, you can add your store phone number for one-tap calls from mobile. Location extension showing your address and business hours on your ad. Structured snippets like highlight product types like diamond jewelry and wedding rings, etc. And then you can also have promotion extensions, advertise sales or seasonal deals within your actual ads themselves. These typically have a higher make your ads have a higher click-through rate when you add these extensions. So when you're setting up your Google ads, you got to kind of make sure that you're setting yourself up for success by using all of the things available in Google Ads. Also, make sure to set up a target ROAS. That means return on ad spend. So depending on what your goals are, if it's store visits, then you want to set your target ROAS and put a value on the store visits. Or e-commerce is a real common way to do target ROAS. Again, return on ad spend. So Google automatically sets bids to help you get as much conversion value as possible for your budget. So that's extremely important for your optimizations of your campaigns. And it's ideal for high ticket items like fine jewelry, where one sale can represent a high value conversion. So for example, if you set your target ROAS at 500%, Google will try to get $5 in conversion value for every $1 you spend. So it automatically optimizes for those conversions. We'll talk about social media, create engaging content to grow account and maintain relevance. So some of the things that I suggest is short form videos. Short form videos under 90 seconds have a 50% retention rate, making them highly effective for engagement. Again, it's all about engagement and relevance and also like discoverable content. When you go to search on Instagram, the things that pop up are typically going to be reels. So you want to be as discoverable as possible. That's one of the important parts of short form videos, especially if one of your videos are trending within your own audience, then you're going to show up more on the discoverable content. Interactive content, polls and giveaways can boost audience interaction and brand visibility. Again, you want people to engage and interact. So when consumer goes to your website, they're thinking about purchasing from you, they go to your social media and everyone's raving about you and they're commenting and there's relevant interaction going, your conversion rate's going to be great. So, but if you don't have this, then and you're not having good engagement, it's going to be tough to convert customers. You're going to have to somehow you get them on the phone potentially, or encourage them to visit your store if you don't have this. But it's going to be tough. So visual storytelling, share behind the scenes content, new arrivals, and customer testimonials to build a connection with your audience. I'll show some examples here in a minute. And utilize Instagram Reels, TikTok, and Facebook Stories to share engaging content. Those are probably the top platforms, Instagram being number one. So here's some examples of short form videos of just like opening up a jewelry box with engagement rings. You've probably seen some of this content, but it's really important to have authentic, real footage, not videos that you're reposting from one of your suppliers. Those typically have zero engagement. So like reposting from vendor content is just not going to help you at all. I would just not post if that's all you have, otherwise it's just going to look like you're not relevant. So I would wait till you have good content before you post. So if you can only do, one video a week because you don't have the manpower, then I suggest waiting until you have really high quality, authentic content. Here's another idea, sketches and drawings. Those are popular because it's kind of like behind the scenes. Here's examples of comparing engagement ring styles, cuts, and sizes. So these are really popular, as well as like comparing. And typically you'll see a lot of engagement on these types of posts, as you can see. Also engagement stories. Again, this connects your audience with you. It makes you seem authentic. Is having user generated content, them reposting or you reposting content from your customers that have purchased from you. Those are that's great content to share as well. Email marketing. We'll talk about campaigns, announce new collection, promotions, and educational content. Automations are probably the most important thing that I want to talk about, because that's going to be important for your marketing automation funnel and really having as much success as possible. Campaigns are really important as well for certain times of the year. Things are slow. You want to try to get people to engage with promotions that you might have. But if you want to make sure that you're getting as much value and conversions out of your digital marketing strategy, you want to make sure you set up automations. And I'm going to dig more into it on one of our next slides. But some of the basics are setting up your abandoned cart reminders, birthday offers, and follow-ups. I'll dig more into that here in a minute. Obviously, segment your audience, differentiate between bridal and fashion shoppers for targeted messaging. It's always better when you can have, if somebody's buying mostly luxury watches from you, they might not be interested in lower price points, or vice versa. Mainly if somebody's really just buying lower price points and you're promoting, $30,000 items, they're not gonna. So it's really good to segment your audience. Use tools like Klaviyo, MailChimp, and Constant Contact. Klaviyo is really the preferred email system for Shopify merchants. So utilize Klaviyo to nurture shoppers in your email list. Send relevant emails based on how subscribers interact with your website. For example, if somebody has put an item in their cart at least once in the last month, you can send them out an email. If someone has viewed a product once in the last 90 days, you could send them out an email automated. So these emails can be very personalized according to how people are interacting on your website. So email automation, super important. And that's where we'll now talk about marketing automation and retargeting, so you don't let your website visitors forget you. So only 2% of website visitors can convert on their first visit. So they're visiting your website. So retargeting and automation helps you bring back the other 98% and guide them through your sales funnel. So retargeting ads, you stay on top of mind when you do that. Platforms would be like Google, Display Network, Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, etc. Typically, when you set up Performance Max with retargeting, you're gonna encompass the Google Display Network and YouTube, and all the Google platforms. Facebook and Instagram, really important to have your retargeting. You probably see it all the time when you visit a e-commerce website and you click on a product. When you log into Facebook or Instagram, you're going to keep seeing those products show up. So you need to do the same thing for your users if you really want to make sure that you're just doing everything you can to get your website visitors and your digital marketing strategy to work. Show ads to users who have viewed specific products, engagement rings, fashion jewelry, etc. Add items to the cart but didn't check out. Visited key pages like custom jewelry or book appointment. You can set up all those different triggers in your campaigns. Retargeted visitors are 70% more likely to convert, according to Criteo. So super important. Some creative examples for retargeting ads, like you're still thinking about that ring, your perfect piece is waiting. Include photos of the actual items they browse via dynamic retargeting. So super important to have your product feed in Google via Merchant Center, so you can retarget people based on the products that they're clicking on. So set up retargeting pixels, Facebook pixels, Google tag, Shopify users. Also, you can actually integrate an app into your Google Ads to make sure that all the Shopify users are being retargeted properly and that all of your tracking is really dialed in. Add marketing automation for deeper engagement. So email automation, especially again, abandoned cart emails, browse abandonment emails, like I shown in that previous slide. Time-based drip campaigns. So after someone views a ring collection, send a 3-part series over a week. Open rates for abandoned cart emails average over 40% with conversion rates around 10 to 20%. So really important. If you don't have that set up, like the basics, which is again, abandoned cart, like you're probably losing a lot of money. So definitely recommend doing the, at the very least, abandoned cart automation. Add marketing automation for deeper engagement. If you reviewed that one, oops. There we go. Okay. And then retarget across channels. Use cross-platform retargeting to follow users across Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And use a consistent message and cohesive creative across platforms for brand continuity. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I know we've gone through a lot of information. Did want to also mention that we offer a digital marketing analysis at no cost. It's usually a $1,500 value. We do this at JCK. We do this for some of our webinars, but we look at your site speed, user experience, search engine positioning. Sometimes if you have Google Ads and Meta Ads set up, we can analyze your accounts, look at your competitors, look at your social media, and offer a series of recommendations in order to give you as much value as possible. No obligation to do that. If you'd like to either have a consultation or you just like a copy of these slides or a copy of the webinar, you can also email me, Anthony@gemfind.com. That's ANTHONY@gemfind.com. You can also call me directly at 800-373-4373, extension 115. Happy to answer any questions for you offline. If you have any questions now, can answer them now. Again, a lot of information what we went through. Give it about 30 seconds or so. If you have any questions, can answer them now. But if not, feel free to reach out to me directly and happy to answer questions offline. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions today. So thank you so much for being here and spending some time with us. Really appreciate it. And next month, we'll have another webinar again. The second Thursday of every month, you can visit our website, gemfind.com, to get all of our webinar schedules in there. And just reach out to me if you have any questions, Anthony@gemfind.com. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.